matter. It's not about any specific germ. It's all about the environment that your cells are swimming in. And the health of the cell is only as healthy as the environment in which it thrives in or lives in or survives in. People that are sick are dirty inside. They have
That sounds
internal
funny, but you're absolutely
they have
correct.
they have internal filthiness, and people talk about detoxing or cleansing. They have no clue about what they're talking about because they don't understand the functionality of the alimentary canal, let alone the various functions of the interstitial fluid and its pH and biochemistry. But that's what I've published on,
Mhm.
and that's what we focus on, which is 100% of the extracellular fluids in order to maintain the integrity of the cell. It's not just about the vascular fluids that surround the blood. And for those who think you've got natural immunity, unfortunately, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, the science is wrong. Flat out wrong. Lymphocytes do not provide immunity. Neutrophils do not provide immunity. The stomach is the major organ for providing immunity by manufacturing a compound to maintain the alkaline design of the fluids. The backup system is the red blood cell. The red blood cells do more than the white blood cells. It's the red blood cells and the hemoglobin that absorbs the wastes or poisons from what you're eating, drinking, or what you're vaccine or whatever crazy thing that you're doing. You know, I
Wow.
mean, if I took a turd and flavored it and made it taste good, everybody would be smoking and drinking and eating turds because we eat for taste. We're slaves to our taste buds,
True.
and so when we're talking about immunity, you can't have a conversation about immunity without understanding the functionality and the purpose of the stomach. Once you understand that the stomach is the major organ for providing natural immunity and its main compound is sodium bicarbonate, then you'll understand the importance of sodium bicarbonate and why people thrive and survive and thrive while everybody else is sick and dying around them.
Wow. I just wanted to let you know that I thought I had the uncensored or the censored platforms on, but I had shut them off on the last show, and so they weren't on. But I just turned them back on, so some of the people may have missed a little bit about the importance of the stomach and um, sodium bicarbonate and how it's alkalinity that's really critical in our health and well-being of the body, and it's not the digestive process that we've been taught in school is incorrect.
Yeah, there is no digestive process. The only instrument you have to digest food or to break it down is your teeth. The stomach does not break down food. It does not digest food. The intestines do. In fact, the intestines is actually the root system of the body, and it has appendages called intestinal villi, and it has what is called the crypts of the intestinal villi, where liquefied food at an ideal pH of 8.4 biologically transform into the erythroblasts that become the blood. The blood is the primary stem cell. It's what becomes bone, muscle, organ, gland, skin, brain. It's blood. When a cell is fertilized, when an egg is fertilized by a sperm, one drop of blood appears, and that's when a fetus is begins to develop. And that happens in 11 or 12 weeks, and it's all done by blood. And the quality of that fetus is determined by the quality of the blood, and the quality of the blood is determined by what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, what you think, what you feel, and what you believe.
That is so true, and people don't want to admit that, but that's a tough one. And especially, things like what you think is important. Having negative self-talk is very unhealthy. Um, but
Well,
what
it takes a
people,
lot of energy. It's not that the thoughts you're having are unhealthy per se. I mean, we're talking about functionality now. The physiology of a thought produces acidic waste product. The acidic waste product is lactic acid, and that is the acid that causes cancer, causes neurological breakdowns. So the more you think, the more acidic you become, and the more acidic you become, the more health challenges you have. So you have to manage your thought. That's why meditation is so important. That's why, having quiet time, where there are no thoughts. This is healing. It's already been scientifically documented. But you have to go to a place where there is no thought. And that's where you find peace. Because when you're in your thoughts, you're producing acids, lactic acids, that make you sick, tired, fat, and stupid.
So you're saying, if I understand, I always learn something new from you. Thank you. So you're saying that if your thoughts, or you're doing a lot of thinking, just thinking in general,
Good, bad, or no, yeah. That's why when you're studying something, you're reading something, or you're writing something, you become fatigued. You're being fatigued by the waste products that those thoughts produce. You can't have a thought in isolation without producing a chemical waste. Let me say that again. You
yeah, please.
can't have a thought in isolation without producing a chemical waste. Those chemical wastes are citric acid, lactic acid. These acids poison the blood, poison the interstitial fluid, cause cellular breakdown. You can make yourself sick with your thoughts. The key to healthy body fluids is managing and maintaining the alkaline design of the interstitial fluids, which is that large body of water that surrounds every cell that makes up every organ, every gland, every tissue of your body. That measures the same as the ocean, ideally at 8.4. When you manage and maintain the alkaline design of the interstitial fluid, and you can test on that. You don't need me. You just, in the sense of to do that for you, you don't need any doctor for that matter. All you need is pH hydrant paper. Pee on a strip of pH hydrant paper and keep your pH at 8.4 and never less than 7.2, because it's kind of like the oceans. There's tides, and there's recessions to those tides, ebbs and tides, they call them. And the ebb and the tides should range from 7.2 to 8.4. But most people are swimming in pollution. Their cells are swimming in an acidic environment. When I say that, I'm not talking about the blood. I'm talking about the interstitial fluids, the largest organ of the human body. Yes, folks, the largest organ of the human body is not the skin. So I know you were really upset when Pluto got kicked out as one of the planets in our solar system. Well, guess what? Skin just got kicked out. Okay, the skin is made from blood, and it's not the largest organ. It's the interstitial fluids. The interstitial fluids is the fluid that surrounds every cell of the body. And when something bad gets into the interstitial fluid, it travels everywhere. So much for the jab, right? So much for anything that's toxic that you take into your body.
Pollutes everything.
Pollutes everything. Okay, so if you're eating food that's glyphosate laced, that's going to travel everywhere. And if you're pregnant, it's going to cause birth defects. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to get this. And it's better that you know nothing about it, because your mind hasn't been polluted by being educated beyond your intelligence. Which most people are educated beyond their intelligence.
I like Mark Twain saying, I never let my schooling interfere with my education.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're here, to be educated. Through our experience, we learn, at least if we're awake. Not woke, but awake.
Yeah, we do have to make that
anybody that's
differentiation.
Yeah, you just slap them and wake them up, Oh, I can see you're woke, here. Oh, wow, geez, thank you.
Well, we really have a communication failure going on that's beyond belief, because the communication outlets that are informing people are lying on a massive scale. And I just read just this morning about a Rasmussen poll, and this is what I'm getting at. 59% of people want you confined to your home for not taking or participating in the program. Okay. 48% want you fined or imprisoned. 45% want you forced to designated facilities, and 29% want to take your kids away if you have not agreed to take the jab. So I find that extremely disturbing and an obvious lack of truthful communication. Because
Okay. Well, let me give you the worldwide statistics, okay?
okay,
98% of the world's population doesn't know and they don't care.
that bad?
That bad. 1% of the population, maybe a little bit more, we'll say 97 and give 2% of the population knows, but they don't care either. They're not going to do anything about it. So when we're talking about those people who know and care, we're dealing with less than 1% of 1%. So now you have the reason why what we have is stupidity that's managing our affairs. And it's really hard to break through, this problem, particularly in academia, because
Yeah.
99% of those people are educated beyond their intelligence.
Yeah.
You know how many times I've been to the hospital in my life, other than with a client or what have you, for me personally?
Zilch.
Zero. Zero.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many times I've been inoculated? Zero.
Oh, wow. Well, you had good parents then.
Well, no, I had
That were
parents that
aware.
grew up in the war and saw what happened to others. My father
Okay.
never had health insurance, never would take us to the doctor, never would take us to an emergency room. I remember when I was a Boy Scout, I had my hatchet, I was putting up a tent, and the blade of the hatchet, when I came up, hit my knee and went in about right to the bone.
Ooh.
And, my mother said, "Hey, we need to take him to the hospital." And the answer was, we just taped it up and I healed from that. I don't even have a scar anymore. That's gone because the body heals in either scars or regenerates. It's the pH that determines whether you scar or not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so when you provide an alkaline pH at 8.4, you regenerate. And that goes back, regeneration goes back to the quality of the blood, which goes back to what builds healthy blood: chlorophyll, oil, water, and salt. Sunshine, oxygen, these are all components. These are what I call the 6 doctors. I have an extra one. There's actually 7 doctors: Dr. Chlorophyll, Dr. Clay, Dr. Oil, Dr. Oxygen. So it's an acronym that stands for COWS, COWS. Chlorophyll, clay, oil, oxygen, water, salt, sunshine, and sexercise. So those are the 7 doctors. And if you want to stay youthful and thrive, then you have to know your farmer better than you do your doctor. You have to incorporate these other doctors that are the true healers. So, yes, I take Jeshua or Jesus for his word. He said, if you drink the blood of plants, you will live. If you eat the blood of animals, you will surely die.
He said that?
And yeah. So when you talk about blood and organs, there's no difference in my mind. Organs are made from blood.
Yeah.
Bones are made from blood, not from calcium. That's just kind of the glue that holds it together. When you see 11-week fetus, you'll see all of the bone structure, and it is all made from blood. It eventually solidifies and becomes white, but no, it's red. Totally red when it's exposed to oxygen. So the bottom line is blood is the primary element by which all body cells are made, and blood is made in the crypts of the small intestine, not the bone marrow. So if you read the scriptures, it does not say health in the bones, marrow in the bones, strength in the loins and the sinews. No, it says, or health in the marrow of the bones, uh, health in the bone marrow, then health to the navel. No, if you read the scripture literally, it says health in the navel, marrow to the bones, then strength in the loins and the sinews, and then power, then energy. Power, energy, life force comes from the navel. It's called core blood. Core blood is made in the interstitial, is made in the crypts of the small intestine, the little appendages, the microvilli and villi, these intestinal villi. That's your root system. If you want to have more bone marrow, you don't get a transplant. You provide an environment that's conducive, and this is how you reverse these conditions. You have to understand where things begin. And things begin with what is called the third anatomical element. And most people on the planet have no idea what I'm talking about when I say the third anatomical element. The third anatomical element is the element that God himself, in English, different words in Latin, but from dust you are and from dust you will return. That's the beginning and end of all organized matter. He just revealed it simply to those who have a brain of understanding truth. The dust is a living, indestructible anatomical element, which is the precursor to all organized matter. And when it breaks down, it goes back to that same form to become part of some other organized matter, plant, human, or animal. The only thing that makes us uniquely different from plants and animals is the spirit which resides in us. Even though some people act like animals, it's hard. It's easy for me to understand. These anatomical elements are like little biosensors. They're little hard drives that are encrypted with every experience, every piece of knowledge that has ever been, experienced by those who are donating those. That's why I don't do blood transfusions. I don't want somebody else's anatomical elements and their experience, whether it's coming from a fetal line or it's coming from some other bovine source. The bottom line is you make your own. That's why using using multiple or mutated RNA or genetic matter, RNA, DNA, you're literally introducing a information system that's literally being held on those anatomical elements of someone else's experience, somebody else's knowledge, good, bad, or ugly.
What you're reminding me of is people that have had organ transplants in particular, and suddenly people have different cravings that they've never had before. They're different. It's as if the memory of the cells of the organ that has been transplanted is releasing some of that information in this new body that is totally different than its normal programming, so to speak.
Yeah, so that transplant is generational. It contains the anatomical information. It contains the information that is encrypted on those dust particles, those anatomical elements, from the person who donated the heart and to the generations past. That person's mother, father, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-great-parents, all from the beginning time of when that organization became part of either plant, animal, or human matter. This is all encrypted. The hard drives that are being developed now and the patents that I believe will be seen is the patents of using your drop of blood to encrypt. And some of this is already going on now to make changes within that genetic map. New experiences or new information being impregnated on your own human experience on your own human genetic. It's like the software. mRNA is the software that programs the DNA. So that DNA is the hard drive. That's the information. But what you're doing is you're impregnating information that you may or may not want. So there's high risk when you're eating a piece of chicken, beef, or having a jab that contains genetic or polynucleotides that contains information from other sources other than your own.
Wow. I'm sure people never think of it that way. But that's heavy, really.
So many years ago, I developed a system. The original research began with Dr. Royal Lee and his company called Standard Process, and he was using nucleotides. He was using genetic material to drive or to heal specific organs. Those who are claiming or patenting this information literally have not acknowledged the work of some of these previous scientists that actually did this work. Okay? So many years ago in the 80s, I developed a polynucleotide from specific bosine sources of genetic material to derive vitamins, minerals, herbs, and cell salts to specific parts of the body. Does it work? Absolutely, it works. And that's the experiment that's going on today. That's the experiment that's going on. So when you talk about a nanolipid pouch or capsule, that is being delivered by intelligent information that's taking it to specific areas of the body for either doing good or harm, depending on what the outcome of those who created whatever they've created. It can be for healing or for killing.
And isn't it interesting that because of the emergency nature of the substance that is injected, they don't have to tell you absolutely everything that's in there.
No, because the FDA approves on the entire. They don't look at individual ingredients. They look at the whole vaccine or whatever they're looking at, the whole drug, whatever they're approving. They don't look at the individual ingredients. They look at, well, what is it doing? Is it doing more harm than good? Or is it doing more good than harm? You see? But that's not the case now. You take all of the tracking under VARS for the last 21 years, okay?
Yeah.
More people have been injured and died in 1 year than all the last 21 years combined.
And they still haven't stopped the program.
Well, because that's not the intention.
Yeah.
The intention is something more sinister, I believe. But the bottom line, I understand the science. I know why the contents of that nano hydrogel packet, that package is being delivered to the reproductive organs. I know why it's being delivered to the heart. I know why it's being delivered to the brain. And there is a patent on this for multiple polynucleotides, mRNA, that is responsible for the delivery of whatever they have not disclosed, which is part of the major work that I was working with other scientists to release the undisclosed ingredients in these so-called drugs.
Yeah, drugs. It's always a challenge to be able to talk freely about subjects that you're not supposed to talk about. And we wonder why it's so hard to get the truth out and why people are so misinformed and misdirected.
There's the mandator and the mandatee, and if we follow the mandator's mandate, then we've given up any of our rights. As a mandatee, I can refuse the mandate of the mandator because there is no law.
Mandate's not a law.
Mandate is not a law, but if you subject yourself as a mandatee to the mandator and follow the mandate, then you have lost or given up your legal right to your freedom.
There is a question in the chat. I'm not sure if you want to answer it based on very limited information. It says, Dr. Young, please suggest a supplement I can gift to parents to try to help alkalinize their constantly sick baby, as I know I can't get them to change the baby's totally acidifying diet.
Yeah, and that's really hard. People cannot be coerced or forced against their will.
Exactly.
And it's difficult to make changes or introductions. But I can tell you what I do, because there's different approaches here. You've got the germ mentality, which is, I'm going to kill the germ, I'm going to destroy the germ, I'm going to detox from the germ. And yes, parasites, I identified the Trypanosoma cruzi parasite, which was found in
That's a mouthful.
which was found in the solutions of the pollutions. Yeah, so parasites from the outside world, especially if they're being injected into you, is a problem. And there are things that I take to break down their protective wall, which is called terpenes, and it's found in red pine needle oil. But there's terpenes in a lot of things that can help break down that parasite protective coating. Even the PEG breaks down, so it actually breaks that down. But here again, when you break something down, do you have the capacity to get rid of it? And that really goes back to circulation and elimination. So you have to have your orifices open in order to remove toxins, but things has to be flowing. And if you're poisoning the body, things get sticky and they start coagulating, and that creates a problem. So that's why I've been a proponent of using a different approach, and the different approach is to use materials that will chelate, or literally adsorb and absorb or neutralize. And one of those naturally is called glutathione. It's how the cells protect themselves. Glutathione is a powerful antioxidant, meaning that it has the ability to adsorb and absorb a particular toxin and neutralize that particular toxin. But most people run low on NAC. Another precursor to glutathione is N-acetylcysteine. And these are two powerful aminos that help, that are released by cell membranes, that by the cells themselves in order to protect themselves. But if there's a war going on, sometimes that can be then supported. That alkalizing process can be supported by these antioxidants that help to neutralize the forms that can cause damage, the poisons that can cause damage. The other thing that's probably even more important is something that is very powerful to adsorb and absorb and take it within its body by a exponential of 100 times. So by its own mass, it can adsorb, which means it has an electrical charge which is negative, attract these metabolic acids or dietary acids or respiratory acids or inoculated acids or pollutants from wherever they're coming from that get into the interstitial fluid. You can use this material, which is, there's several sources that are high in montmorillonite. It's a cement-type bentonite montmorillonite clay, not a bentonite, but a montmorillonite clay, which was named after a city in Paris called Montmorillon. This clay is not only adsorptive, not only does it attract poisons to it, it then absorbs it. So it's absorptive as well. And the beauty of that is that's protective. That's protective. So if you do something, either by commission or by omission, You take a little bit of this montmorillonite clay, you put it in water, you drink it, and it gets into the interstitium organ. That's the name of the organ that contains the interstitial fluids. This is how you support alkalinity. This is how you support the alkaline design of the interstitial fluids at 8.4. And I didn't tell you how you can become your own doctor and test that. You take pH hydrogen paper, you test your urine. Ideally, it should be at 8.4 or higher. It can go up to even to 9 when healing's taking place. But when it's below 7.2 and you're trying to heal, it doesn't work. You scar. You don't regenerate. So the wrinkles and the damages that we do are a result of evidence of an improper alkaline environment at 8.4 to 9, and the body doesn't have the reserve, and the stomach is responsible for producing that alkalinity by taking salt, carbon dioxide, and water to create sodium bicarbonate, to release that then either on the food, or if you're eating something toxic, or to release that into the blood to neutralize the acids, or into the interstitium to neutralize the acids that are being pushed out from the cells or from the blood, which is where everything goes. So the interstitium is where all wastes go. And from the interstitium, it goes then to the lymphatic system out through urination or perspiration or defecation or respiration. That's why you test the urine. That's why you test the sweat, because the sweat and the urine is a product of your interstitial fluids. That's why people use deodorant, because their interstitial fluid is stinky. And when it's stinky, you smell it. It's called body odor. That body odor is coming from the interstitial fluid, from waste that's being spewed out by the blood and the cells. You got it? So the body has to get rid of it. What does it do? It pushes it out through the pores of the skin. And you smell it. You go, wow, this person really doesn't smell very nice. So they cover it up with perfumes.
Instead of getting rid
work.
of it.
Perfume with stench just creates a combination that's very gross.
Gross, yes.
Yeah.
Based on what you're saying, though, I would like to encourage the listening audience to really get some of these pH strips and test your urine, because you will be surprised at how much your diet affects those numbers, and how you might not be anywhere as near alkaline as you think. And it's a real educational process that you self-educate yourself in learning what foods affect your urine pH and stay alkaline, as he says. You need to learn that, and that's the only way you can.
Yeah, probably the most important test you can do, any test, more important than any test that's being done that in the world, is you having the power and the knowledge to test your urine, realizing you're testing interstitial fluid, and now managing your health by keeping it at 7.2 or higher, or ideally at 8.4. You see, you wouldn't do anything different than if you had a saltwater aquarium. You know what happens to fish when the pH goes from 8.4 to 8.1 to 8 to 7.9? They die.
Yeah, they start floating.
The one thing we have in common with the ocean is their fluids that surround the fish are identical to our fluids that surround the cells. That's the metaphor. If the fish is sick, do you treat the fish or do you change the water? Well, a marine biologist would definitely say, well, the oceans are polluted, the fish are getting sick, the coral reef is being exhausted because the calcium is being used to buffer the waste that's being poured into the ocean or from the sky, because it's literally absorbing the carbon monoxide or the titanium dioxide or the hydrogen, whatever it is, that it's absorbing that. And it's doing that by pulling from its resources. And that's why we have the ever-increasing shrinking coral reefs. And that's why we see the forests of Denali devastated, from acid rain. The question is, okay, look up the word acid rain, okay, for our environments, and you'll see the devastation around the world. I show you acid rain internally. That's why you look at the blood. You can literally see the acid rain. It's pouring into your fluids that is destroying your health. And then you can see it for yourself and realize, wow, I'm sick because of me. I am the cause of my dis-ease. I am the cure for my dis-ease. I can't cure you. You patient, you have to cure yourself. And the first thing you have to do is empower yourself with truth and knowledge, not with these man-made philosophies that are designed for money, to sell, for profit. It's not about your health. The current medical system is not about your health. I mean, it sure looks like it.
It's so
As
hard
people
for
are falling
people.
off the cliff and the ambulances are coming, they're trying to put you back together again. Those are the scenes that we see. But what led up to that is what you're putting into your mouth, what you're putting into your mind. And these pollutants are destroying humanity, and we have to come back to a godlike lifestyle. And it's all there anciently. We can look at our past. And I gave you an example of the Spanish flu epidemic in 1918, and those who survived and thrived were supporting their stomach, which is on the front line of immunity, because it provides the compound that protects the environment, which is sodium bicarbonate, and it's done in the lining of the stomach. Yes, a waste product of sodium bicarbonate is hydrochloric acid, but that's all it is a waste product, a poisonous, toxic waste product that provides no good whatsoever. Totally eliminated. But geez, it's in all your supplements and your pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals. They add the hydrochloric acid. But here again, the FDA does not look at the individual ingredient. Okay? I look at individual ingredients. You don't find hydrochloric acid in a recipe. Okay? You don't find
No, you
lactic
don't.
acid. You don't find these. I mean, if you look at the pH Miracle Revised and Up book, data, you don't find the acids in my recipes. Why? Because I understand these additions to these foods, even though you think they make them taste better, are poisons that are addicting you and keeping you held hostage. And your taste buds, when they awaken again by using, more of an alkaline, savory, salty approach, they awaken and you go, wow, I didn't know food could taste so good. And you become very, very sensitive to the poisons in food, particularly sugar. People say our bodies run on sugar. Another medical myth. Bodies do not run on sugar. Bodies run, cells run, anatomical elements run on electrical energy. It's called the electron. It's transported on a matrix of salt. That's why salt is so critical. When people are tired, you can awaken yourself. Even diabetics, they say, well, I've got low blood sugar. No, that is totally false. It's not about sugar. Sugar is, well, it is in a sense. Primarily, it's about electron distribution. I am tired because I'm not getting enough whole electrically charged food that donate electrons, because that's what the body runs on, electrical energy. And so when blood sugars are going up, that's a reflection of the interstitial fluid. Test the urine. You'll see it's down in the 5s. And since it's exponential, what is normal at 8.4 on interstitial fluid, and each time you go from like 8 to 7, what is that? That's 10 times. From 7 to 6, that's 100 times. From 6 to 5, that's 10,000 times more acidic than normal. Not 3 times, not from 5 to 8. We're talking about 8.4. We're talking about a pollutant within the solutions that have literally poisoned you by the tune of 50,000 times from normal. And that's what sugar does to you. Sugar is a waste product of cellular breakdown. Guess what? I knew that as a little boy. My mother would make banana bread, but she would make banana bread out of rotting high sugar bananas because bananas, as they rot, the sugar increases because that's a waste product of cellular breakdown. The same thing that's happening in type 1 diabetics. Diabetics aren't, it's not about sugar. But the answer is that I give the American Association for Diabetes doesn't like my answer. The solution, the cure for diabetes, type 1 and type 2. They don't like the answer because guess what?
It works and it's cheap. Let me get.
You don't have to be pushing drugs all your life. You don't have to be taking insulin all your life. You don't want to regulate sugar with insulin. You want to regulate sugar with your lifestyle. Nobody likes that question, that answer to that question. You mean I got to change my diet in order to become, in order to regulate my blood sugar? Yeah, isn't that
Heaven help me, I was a nutritionist. Trying to get people to change their diet is like pulling teeth without any anesthetic.
You don't even have to pull teeth because your teeth aren't going to be rotting out of your face, out of your mouth. Teeth cares. If you just leave them alone and start alkalizing, they'll regenerate. But no. We have to go in there and we got to drill out the cavity. We got to put in some toxic material and we have to thrive in that.
Yeah. I even had a dentist tell me once that mercury wasn't toxic. I'm going, oh my God, I don't believe this.
You should have brought a bottle for him.
Yeah,
do you mind if I put that in your water? We want to do a human experiment. So, diabetes is not a disease. Cancer is not a disease. Multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, these are not diseases. These are symptoms of poor lifestyle. These are symptoms of or the consequences of making decisions based by commission or omission. I had my wife's husband who passed away. His name's Richard. He would drink Dr. Pepper. He would get these big liter bottles and drink that. Mm-hmm. And I would tell him, I said, Richard, if you keep drinking this, eventually you're not going to be around very long. And that was the case. But he was addicted to that food. It was a drug to him. I mean, isn't it interesting how, Dr. Pepper, what is that? That must be good for you. It's a doctor in a bottle. It's a doctor.
It'll make you need a doctor. Yeah.
It's a doctor in a bottle. So I'm going, oh my heavens. This is just unbelievable marketing. And anyway. Some of it, yeah. So what I'm saying is disease is a consequence of personal choice. There are no diseases. There's only symptoms of states of imbalance that are reflected by the largest organ of the human body, which is called the interstitial fluids. The organ's called, by the Germans, where I studied for 40 years ago with Dr. Marie Blecker, the colloidal connective tissue of the Schad. This is something I've been testing and talking about for 4 friggin', if I can use that word, decades. 4 friggin' decades. And people still think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
The reason why is because, why didn't we learn that in medical school? Why isn't there a test that can test these fluids? Folks, don't you understand that the drugs that are being sold thrive on you? It's not that you need them. You're not Prozac deficient. You're not
I
Zoloft
took that.
deficient.
I took that garbage once, man.
I love
No, what you are
Unfortunately.
is you're deficient in your knowledge. And when
Mhm.
Hosea said, "My people perish because of lack of knowledge," we're seeing a holocaust of death in the wilderness, injuries and death in the wilderness that are in the hundreds of millions. They won't even report the first 2 weeks of people that die or injured.
How
It
did
has
how
to
did
be after that.
how
After
did they
that,
justify
they
that?
don't quantify that.
I don't get
So
that. How can they justify that?
how do they justify any of this that's going on?
Oh, that's true.
These are bad actors and Luciferians which have a objective. Because when they look in the mirror, they think they're looking at God. They have a God complex. You see, God gave us free will. No one can take that away from you but you. When you give the mandator the power, you give up your free will. All you have to do is say no to drugs. We learned that in the 60s. Say no to drugs. That was the campaign. Any drugs, recreational or otherwise.
Well, a lot of people think it's okay if they're taking prescription drugs because it came from a doctor.
Well, that's the narrative, but that narrative has to change.
Yeah, I
That
agree.
building needs to come down. That billboard needs to come down. The bottom line here is you must be the change you want to see. You must be the health you want to see. You must be the cure you want to see. I can't do that for you. It is your responsibility. All I can do is empower you with knowledge. And that power of knowledge, you have to decide through your investigations, through your application, through your experience, whether this is the way I want to live. Do you want to just be surviving or do you want to start thriving?
I'm all in favor of thriving.
Okay,
But
so guess what? That may mean giving up the coffee in the morning. That may mean giving up certain teas like black tea that contain titanic acid. That's what they tan leather with, tannic acid. Black tea. I mean, you can see it in
no
UK
wonder
quite a
that
bit.
bothers my stomach so much. Black
It's
tea
one
on
of
an
the worst acids you can
yeah.
put. Well, yeah, because it activates the stomach to start producing sodium bicarbonate. Because
Yeah.
if it doesn't neutralize the tannic acid, you would die.
Oh wow. Yeah,
It's the same
I
with
can't drink tea.
caffeine.
I don't know how I can drink
So well,
coffee,
caffeine
but
has all these wonderful benefits. Well, it depends on which study you're reading. But as it relates to what's going on now, we have over 1,000 published studies that what we're being told and what is happening is being caused by the jab. Over 1,000 published peer-reviewed studies. Some of those are mine. So
what's it going to take to stop this?
It doesn't matter how many published studies you have, because the true virus is the media.
Yes.
And the disease is ignorance. And the treatment, get ready for the treatment. You ready? Common sense.
A big dose of common sense, right?
Yeah. You don't have to go around going cuckoo, 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 cuckoo.
No, they'll just continue going around, give me Snickers or give me death. And that's about it.
Yeah, but it's okay if your eyes are wide open and if that's what you want to do. I would never take that away from anyone. You have free will. You have free choice. It is your body. It is your life. It is your choice. You can turn this whole interview off. You don't have to listen to me anymore. You can ignore it. You say, well, that was interesting, but I'm going to go back and still be miserable and still be depressed and still have all these symptoms, and
And eat
still
whatever I want.
and still pop pills. Or you can change what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, what you think, what you feel, and what you believe. And that is the only way to get through this.
That's a lot of changing, Dr. Young. How do you convince people that it's a good idea?
Well, all I can do is lead a horse to water. I can't make the horse drink.
Yeah. But,
so-
good information is very helpful, because if people don't have the right information or they're not being told the truth, how can they make the positive changes that can make a difference? Because everything that they're fed, pardon the pun, from the mass media are lies, and so.
Well, even the doctors that are talking about this subject don't understand it.
That's
and
true.
I'm not trying to be boastful. I'm not trying to be boastful about this. I'm just saying, look at the history, as a clinical nutritionist, and working in fields of hematology and oncology and endocrinology and, all these different ologies.
Mm-hmm.
My mind wasn't polluted by academia. But now what's coming around is, hey, well, this germ theory is not what we thought it was. So I've been saying germs don't cause disease of any kind, whether they exist or not. They don't cause disease, period. By whatever name. What causes disease is a polluted internal environment from a bad lifestyle, from an acidic inverted. It's an inverted way of living, eating, breathing, thinking, feeling, and believing. These are what causes the inner disturbance and pollution. This is what toxifies the interstitial fluid that then causes cells to break down, that gives rise to the corona effect, that gives rise to the spike protein. These are symptoms that gives rise to the body to force a fever. Somebody said, well, the fever is the disease. Influenza? No. No, the fever is the solution to the pollution to get it out through the pores of the skin. Your body does that to save you. You can say, thank you, God, for creating a perfect body. Please help me to understand how to care for it better. Out of his mouth to my ears, from my mouth to yours, God is speaking to you now. So I'm not saying to believe me. I'm saying believe God. And if you don't believe these words, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall be every word be established. Read the last article that I wrote. Free at last. Free at last. Thank God I'm free at last. And once you have the knowledge, you have the power, then you can take responsibility. If you don't want responsibility, don't confuse me, beyond my intelligence. Intelligent means to be able to read between the lines. A lot of people have knowledge. Some of it's useful, some of it's not. Intelligence goes beyond knowledge. It's about perception. It's being able to see the whole picture. It's a contextual view. It's not like looking at a forest and by looking at it with your nose to the trunk. It's like standing back and being able to see the entire forest and what is called the negative space, which is that which is around the trees. You see the whole picture now. The whole picture is humanity has been sold a bill of goods. And that's why I say the media is the virus, ignorance is the disease, and common sense is the treatment, is the solution to this. None of this makes any sense, what's going on. None of it.
No. Well,
And we have close to 200 letters from medical institutions, universities, governments in writing, out of their own mouth, by their own hand, have admitted that they have no purified isolation of anything that we're dealing with right now today. They don't have any evidence. You can ask for it under the Freedom of Information Act. Does not exist. Anybody that's talking that there's something that exists and we need to protect ourselves doesn't understand this contextually, doesn't understand it on an intellectual level. They need to step back and look at the entire picture. So here
The
again,
problem is if they hear it on mainstream news, or if they see it or hear it come out of the mouth of anyone wearing a white coat, they are right there to believe every word without double checking or using their discernment in any way. Their ignorance.
the education in medical school is controlled.
Yes.
I know that personally, because one of my texts was being used at the medical school at Morehouse College, the largest Black university in the United States. The book is called Sick and Tired, Reclaim Your Inner Terrain. The program in that text lasted 1 year for the medical students. I asked why. They said, if we continue to use this information to teach our students, we will lose our government funding. Now you know the truth.
Yeah.
I personally experienced all of this, being censored myself, being imprisoned myself. The list goes on and on. I know this. But those are all earthly, man-made illusions. You see, I'm free. I've always been free, no matter where I am.
Well, if I could just take a moment, just take care of the legalities so nobody jumps down on our case. This program is not intended to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure any disease and should not be accepted as medical advice. Please consult your own professional sources, use your own research and your own discernment whenever making decisions about your own personal health. And now back to the show.
It's funny that we would even have to say things of that nature.
Well, we've
Yes, it is.
provided no medical treatment information. We provided no nutraceuticals or pharmaceuticals. We haven't talked about any of that. What we're talking about is the foundational truth that your body is only as healthy as its contextual internal environment. And the most important organ of the body that provides that is called the interstitium, or the colloidal connective tissue of the shod, which contains 80% of the extracellular fluids. The other 20% is vascular. And that's called the interstitial fluids. And so this is where you have to go. If you want 100% of the information, you need to get 100% of the information from knowing what the vascular fluids are, both biochemically as well as the interstitial fluid. Now you have 100% of the information. That's not medical advice. That is just common sense.
Yeah.
Anyway. Wow.
I love this show. This is a great show. I was glued to it. It took me forever to find it, but once I did, I was glued to it, and I rewound it as much as I could, and I just missed the beginning.
I missed the very beginning anyway, because I accidentally I thought I had all the platforms on and I didn't. And so there was
What did I say?
There was about 5 or 10 minutes that we missed. You were talking about the stomach and the alkalinity.
Well, the stomach, you can read it's a new theory based on old, but all of the theory right now is based upon, what is called the Warburg effect. And the Warburg effect is related, came about in 1952. And it's, talking about, the tests that they did of the stomach fluids, and they determined that the stomach was an acidic environment. And that's stuck ever since. Guess what? It's wrong. Wrong.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Time to change that. It's a myth. No, the stomach and the saliva secretions, which are supplied by the stomach, is an alkaline secretion at a pH of 8. Why? In order to produce healthy stem cells in the crypts of the small, the stomach has to literally bathe the cells not in acidity of hydrochloric acid, but bathe the cells in alkalinity of sodium bicarbonate, which it makes in its lining. They're called the cover cells. Taking salt, carbon dioxide, and water from the blood, it produces then alkalinity. That's why it's important to drink a lot, not alcohol, lots of alkaline water, eat lots of salt, whole salts, not processed salts, and, exercise. Move your body, because that's what produces carbon dioxide. Because here is the statistic, you can bet your life on. 90% of all carbon dioxide is used by the stomach. Only 10% of the carbon dioxide produced by cellular metabolism is released through respiration.
Wow.
The stomach uses 90% of carbon dioxide to produce sodium bicarbonate. It's NaCl, sodium chloride, plus H2O plus CO2 equals HCO3 plus HCl. HCl is a waste product. It's kind of like saying, geez, I need to get some more exhaust because my car is not running very well. No. Or it'd be saying, we need to kind of breathe in more of the smoke from the fire because I'm just not warm enough. It's like saying, we need to be taking hydrochloric acid and drinking vinegar because I just don't digest food well enough. Folks, that is crazy science. Even though I'm having a crazy hair day today, that is literally crazy hair. Crazy hair science.
It looks like you've been electrified. That's all.
You look marvelous. You look marvelous.
Yes.
And,
I have an electrical personality. It's
There
only
you go.
by the alkalinity and the release of electrons.
You're absolutely
you
electric.
don't want
There
to
you
blow
go.
your own horn. You don't want to blow your own horn. I'm going to blow it for you. You are way above average and way before your time. Way ahead of your time.
Yeah,
So,
that was probably his time is coming forward right now, because the information that he has and he's had for a long time is the kind of information that people really, really need to know. This alkalinity thing is so much more important than people realize, and they are so misinformed or uneducated or unexperienced, maybe I should put it that way, in even learning how that applies by using pH strips and altering your diet and see how it changes and what changes it and how you can correct it when it's off. So, and I totally believe in what you say, because I have enough of a background. I can't repeat it back and forwards and backwards like you can. By a long shot.
Well,
but
you have to live this to be able to talk this way. And so as a clinical researcher, doing research and publications, actually being the first to release the unauthorized or undisclosed ingredients of some of the jabs, and talking about that clear back in 2019.
Yes.
Not 2020, not 2021. I was just warning people, this is coming, but the release of graphene oxide, and the difference between reduced graphene or graphene hydroxide is that form is reduced. And that's what it comes at body temperature is it becomes a reduced form of graphene. And that's where we get the problems. And that's what's contained within that nanocapsid. Is protected by PEG, and it's being specifically delivered based upon the genetics that are being used. And so there's M, which is multiple memory or modified RNA that's being directed specifically at specific glands and organs, and that's why it ends up there. And that's why 60 to 70% of it's going to the reproductive organs. Part of it's going to the heart, and the rest is going to the brain. But you have to have a delivery system, and the delivery system has not been talked about. I was the first to break this news, and why could I break it? Is because I've known the science for 40 years. I did it before they even patented. I kept it as a trade secret. I didn't want to patent it. I was asked to patent it. I said, no, I'm keeping it as a trade secret. Well, the cat's out of the bag. It's not being explained properly. Polynucleotides are the drivers of the capsids that contain the poisons to specific areas of the body. And it's intentional, and it's effective, and it's fatal. It's lethal.
And it sounds like murder to me.
Well, I didn't say that, but I'm saying it can.
I
be
know,
lethal.
but I did. So excuse me for saying that, but it's certainly.
So anyway, the other point that I was trying to make with the stomach was the stomach is on the front line of immunity. It is what provides the chemical compound to maintain the alkaline design of the body fluids, because your body cells, which make up all your organs and glands and tissues, are only as healthy as the body fluids that it is bathed in. And that ideal pH is not 7.325 or 7.365 or 7.4. It's 8.4. It's 10 times more alkaline. It's even conceived or accepted by current medical establishment. Why? Because they don't even recognize it as an organ. Well, they just started to just a few years ago. But the bottom line here, if you want to, there's two ways the body heals. It either scars or regenerates. And most people are scarring. When they cut themselves, there's a scar. Why? Because the pH isn't correct. Should be at 8.4. It's down in the 5s. You can test this because urine is a product of the interstitial fluid. Sweat is a product of the interstitial fluid. And the interstitial fluid is the major body of water that exposes the cell membranes, that gives rise to spike proteins, that gives rise to the corona effect, which is the crowning of the cells. I've been taking pictures of these for decades. This is not new to me. But anytime you introduce foreign matter, genetic foreign matter into the body, there is an immediate rejection. Immediate rejection. So all you've proven by doing that is you just poisoned yourself. You just polluted yourself. You provide no immunity at all. Zero, none. Natural immunity is the only immunity because it is what protects you. And the stomach is on the forefront of it. Now, I mentioned the red blood cells being secondary to the stomach. The red blood cells will adsorb and absorb metabolic, dietary, respiratory, and environmental waste or injectable waste. And so they end up absorbing that and then crystallizing it or even exploding. And I have videotape on this, and I have pictures of this. And these bodies, the red blood cells, as they absorb this weight, they're called Heinz bodies. So a hematologist, they don't know what causes Heinz bodies. They just know they exist they're black blood cells, not red blood cells. They're black red blood cells. And you see them, especially after this jab, you see them in higher numbers. And you see what I call cluster bombs in there. And yes, you see the effects on the cell membrane that's giving rise. And I have photographs on probably the most read article in the world. Millions of people have read this. And the article is called Scanning and Transmission Electroscopy in the Identification of Ingredients in the what. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the name of the article.
Can you put that article up? Can you share that by any chance?
Yeah, it's very simple. You just go to drrobertyoung.com/blog. Put the word in scanning, or the word transmission, or electron microscopy, or spectroscopy, and you can read the whole article. It's been read by millions.
Okay.
And take some time and read my most recent article is Free at Last. Free at Last.
I saw
Thanks
that.
I just added 2 of my published papers in the article for published on pulmonary adenocarcinoma and the reversal and prevention of that, and also on cystic fibrosis, where there are no cures for any of these conditions because they don't understand a contextual environmental reversal or prevention of these conditions of cystic fibrosis. And then I've also added another article on severe acute respiratory lung problems that you can check out, and what causes oxygen deprivation and pathological blood coagulation. And I wrote one of my theses on pathological blood coagulation and why that occurs inside our bodies. And I answer that question. And 95% of it is created by what we're eating, what we're drinking, and now what we're inoculating also goes to that particular point. So test your urine. If I could give you any advice, manage the internal fluids of the body. Hyperperfuse alkalinity through lifestyle choices. Build healthy blood, with the 7 doctors: chlorophyll, clay, oxygen, oil, water, alkaline water, 9 pH minimum, negative 450 millivolt water, and salt. Alkaline salts. I like the inland salts from Redland. I like the North Shore Great Salt Lake inland salts.
Celtic salt.
Yeah, just a whole salt, non-processed salt, and then of course the compounds of sodium, potassium bicarbonate. The evidence is there. I actually bought these online. 2 of my favorite new books. Right, one is called A Friend in Need. See that? A Friend in Need, and look what's on the back of it.
Church and cause
And,
soda.
and this was produced by this company, okay, in 1917, 1918, and this was a good things to eat. Arm & Hammer baking soda, okay, and this was produced in 1918, and this is what people were taking to thrive in another incidence of what is happening now happened back then.
Wow, that's fascinating. And they were taking baking soda 3 times a day. I did not know that. That's fascinating.
This is it. Yeah. Now, this is not an advertisement for Arm & Hammer. I'm just showing you the history of using the compound, which, guess what, is produced by what organ? Every day, every second, every minute, every hour, every week, every month of your life. Baking soda is being produced by the stomach. Yeah, the stomach lining. Yeah. So when you know this, you don't need anything else. And the reason why this isn't on the market and everybody's not everybody's taking it is because you can't patent it. You can't patent nature. You definitely can't profit off it. Arm & Hammer has been around for years. Apparently, they've profited off the compound. I don't know the consider it. I don't know who owns who the parent company is. I have not done that investigation. I just know it's the single most important compound that's produced every second, every minute, every day, every week, every month, every year of your life. And when you stop producing it, you die. And if your acids exceed your alkalinity, you die, because at a pH, ideally for the blood, which is at 7.365, if it drops to 7.1, you're in a coma, and that's 2.63 points.
This isn't an advertisement for Bob's Red Mill baking soda, but and I'm not saying that Arm & Hammer contains aluminum. I'm not. It's just Bob's Red Mill baking soda. Google it. It is guaranteed to be aluminum free. So that's the one.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. There's another company that produces sodium bicarbonate with potassium bicarbonate and magnesium and calcium.
Really?
It does not also contain aluminum.
iJuice?
Yeah. That's a pH Miracle product. And this is not an advertisement because I don't have any financial benefit or ties to
I've used that 4 Salts product, and I like it a great deal.
And I recommend Bob Red Mill. If you need some today, go down to the local store and get something. If you can't find that, get Arm & Hammer's baking soda. And if you want the works, sodium and potassium bicarbonate with magnesium and calcium, which are 4 major compounds that the body produces, mainly the stomach, then you can get it from phmiracleproducts.com. The bottom line here is whatever you choose is your choice. But I can tell you, if you start managing the pH of your interstitial fluids by testing the pH of your urine and hire new doctors Dr. Chlorophyll, Dr. Oxygen, Dr. Water, and Dr. Salt, you're going to surprise yourself. And you're gonna not only improve the quality of your life, but you'll improve the quantity of your life. And and that was a study that a Nobel laureate did many years ago. His name was Dr. Alexis Carrel. And this was done at the turn of the century, from 19 into the from the 19th century to the 20th century. Dr. Alexis Carrel, he received the Nobel Prize posthumously for his work on preserving organs. And he was able to do that indefinitely. And what did he do? He managed to maintain the interstitial fluids of those organs by keeping the pH up, by changing the fluids every 72 hours. He kept a chicken heart alive
The chicken
for
heart
over
guy. Yeah, I was wondering if that was, yeah.
20 years. Well, guess what? They're doing the same thing at the University of Minnesota. They're keeping a pig's heart alive. How long can you live? How long can you have a quality, and a quantity, long life? Guess what? You're in control of that. Death is a choice. Life is a choice. What you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, what you think, what you feel and believe, that is your choice.
Just imagine if you could give yourself a rating in each area.
Can you just repeat that? Just a doctor kept a chicken heart alive for 20 years by changing the fluids and managing the pH.
That's correct.
Every 72 hours.
Every 72 hours.
Chicken heart.
No, they're doing the same thing with the pig heart now, too. You can do it with any heart. You can do it with your heart. Someone says, I've got heart problems. No, you have get off your acid problem.
Yeah, well, that's a good one. I like that one. I might have to write that one down.
I love this guy.
When I was on stage, at the invitation of Tony Robbins in Australia, and people say I have an accent. So where do you come from? I said, well, I was born in Utah. My last name is Young, so you can figure it out, right? Okay, so yeah, I was born raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. I love my parents, and I think about them all the time. My father and my mother, incredible people, loving people. They would be in shock with what's happening now, but they raised me correctly. Trust your farmer, not your doctor.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, know your farmer. Know the food. In fact, when I was 29, after I retired from playing professional sports, I was told by trying to think of his name now, President Benson, and he was at one time the agriculture secretary under Nixon. And we're riding down the elephant. Not riding the elephant. No, that's another story. We're riding down. We're riding down the elevator, and he turned to me and says, Robert, I said, if I had your youth, your energy, your talents, he went on. He said, and your money, okay, because I retired at the age of 29. I lived my life in reverse. Not at 65. I retired at 29. Everything else has just been a hobby. He said, I would, this is how I ended up in California. I said, I would become a farmer. Because the day will come, and as a prophet, he prophesied, the day will come where you will have to grow what you eat and eat what you grow. And the most important investment you should make with your money is with seeds. And soil. You have to have the soil and the seeds. A lot of you can do other ways without soil, but I mean ideally with soil. You can use drip systems. We've had them both. Well,
hydroponics.
Later down the road, I had an opportunity. I was on a tour for the pH Miracle book, and I was in La Jolla presenting, and some friends there said, "Hey, we got to show you this property. It's perfect for you." I had no intention of moving. I'm from Salt Lake City. I was living in Valley Center, still there. And I said, "Fine, I'll go see it." Well, we fell in love with it. It was a 40-acre ranch in Valley Center, and it was perfect. It was perfect. We ended up buying, ended up moving. We kept the other home, but we ended up buying, and we had people from all over the world come there. It was shut down by the politicians and the politically controlled agencies. It was shut down in January of 2000, actually 2000, July of 2013, no, 2014, and that's okay. It's been closed ever since. We haven't reopened, and of course, but anyway, I went to this meeting, and it was a very, very special meeting because there was a man there who had called me, and he said I need your help. And I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I only have 2 weeks to live." And I said, "Well, are you bedridden?" He said, "Yes." He said, "But I'm going to get out of my bed because I want to see you." Well, I'm going to be in La Jolla. So he went, and so he sat through the whole 2-hour presentation, and he came up to me with the help of his family and said, "Wow, I know you can help me." And we sat down and talked, and I said, "What do you want? What is your outcome for this?" And he said, "I want to be able to live, to see my only daughter married, and to stand in the line of the reception." And I said, how long is that? When is that going to be? He said, "Well, in about 5 months." So you have 2 weeks to live, and you want to live another 5 or 6 months. Is that what you're saying? He says, "Yes, that's all I want. I'm praying for that. I'm hoping for that. And I know that with your knowledge, you can help me to achieve that." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "I'll have to look at something and to validate that." And I looked at it, and yes, I said, you can survive another 5 or 6 months, but you're going to have to change your diet." And he did that. Not only did he see his daughter married and stand in the reception line, but
He's still alive today.
He saw his grandchild born. He didn't die from cancer. He lived another 2.5 years, and something had happened where a blockage in the urinary tract system. Went to the hospital. He died on the operating table from medical error.
Lovely.
So the reason I'm telling you this story is because, like a chicken heart, like a pig heart, like a human heart, if you have the faith, which is the first attribute in thinking healthy, and you will give up fear, which is false evidence appearing real. That's the acronym. So the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. The acronym for faith is the first attribute in thinking healthy. And if you actually don't pray and ask for it, but expect as if it's already happened, thank you, God, for extending my life another year, another 2 years. Thank you. As if you already received it. And then you will change your lifestyle, and you will clean up the perversion and the inversion of that lifestyle and start hyperperfusing alkalinity. From God's mouth to my ears, I can say a miracle will happen. A pH miracle will happen in your life, just as with this gentleman. Well, we ended up moving there. We ended up helping thousands of people from over 154 countries. But that was just too much for the politics, too much for Big Pharma to handle. And even after 5 months of incarceration, even when I published the Prevention and Cure for Cancer in 2015 and 2019, presented that at the International Conference on Oncology, on Cancer and Cancer Therapy, announcing that there is a cause and there is a cure for cancer. I will continue with those words as long as I have breath in my body. I will continue to help people with education, not with medication. Education, not with vaccination. These are medical treatments that only doctors can give. I have never been involved in any of that. Education is the key to empowering you, to improving your quality and quantity of life. I cannot do this for you. You have to do it for yourself. It's your body, it's your life, and it's your choice. Do not allow anyone, even me, to take that away from you. This is your power. This is something you have to decide for yourself.
So basically, you're telling people to take their power back by being in control of your life, by what you eat, what you drink, what you think, what you believe. What am I missing?
Well, it's what you eat,
yeah.
what you drink, what you breathe, what you think, what you feel, and what you believe, and now what you even inoculate. So it's wherever it's coming from. You have to take control of your environment.
Yeah.
You must be the change, as Gandhi said, you must be the change you want to see. I've added to that. You must be the cure you want to see. You must be the life you want to see. Don't pray for it. Thank God for it. Thank you, God, for providing safety, protection, good health. Thank you for my life. Thank you for these experiences. Thank you for empowering me with the knowledge. This is my prayer for everyone on planet Earth. Take back your power and honor that God in heaven who sent you here so that you could be educated and experience in a duality of life that you could become more like your creator. We are gods and goddesses in embryo. Believe it. We can achieve whatever we want to achieve. Believe it. You can have whatever you want. Believe it. Don't ask for it. Thank God for it, because all of the tools are here for you.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You're a warrior earth angel, Dr. Young. You really are. And I am so delighted to have you on my show because it's always a wonderful educational event. You're so full of knowledge and know it so well. And it's so important. And it's stuff that people don't get from very many people, if any. So I really appreciate you immensely. And I can't thank you enough for being on my show.
Well, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Gail. Thank you. And, bless you and bless what you're doing. And I thank God for people like you that are opening their mouths and allowing not only the truth to be heard, but expressing the truth in of itself and recognizing it for what it is. It's one thing to hear it. It's another to live it, to see it and then to live it. Yes. So that's my hope for humanity.
And that's their challenge. First, you have to learn it, then you have to practice it. And that's where we're at. Well, we're up on almost 2 hours already. It's easy to, how time flies when you're having fun or being educated. And like I said, I can't thank you enough. And I thank God for bringing you here and having you educate the public with the knowledge that you have, because it's critical. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, Paul. And we'll be in touch. Thank you.
With your permission, Gail, I'd like to restream this on my channel, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bye to everyone.
I love this show. I love you, Dr. Young. You are absolutely a rock star. You're amazing. And if I was
By the
in
way, that was
California
one of
right
my
now,
dreams to be a rock star. I love to
Who
sing.
wouldn't? Yeah, really. I like the stage
unfortunately,
myself too. I'd have been a singer, but anyway,
I'm in
maybe
New
next life.
York. I'm not in California. I'm in New York. I couldn't possibly be farther away from you if my feet weren't wet. But if I was there, dude, I would shake your hand and give you a big hug. I'm
Well,
just saying.
back to you. Blessings to you and to your family, and better days are ahead. They may seem rocky, but these are even if the gates of hell open up its mouth to devour you, know this. Know this. It's all for your good. Experience it. Thank God for it. You're learning, growing. That's how you become, you know, like God, not God, but like God. These are how you gain godly attributes.
It's every adversarial thing that happens to you is an opportunity for growth. It's growth potential. It
Mm-hmm.
gives you the fuel to go forward. So,
And now, if I can just change my diet more,
hey, give me Snickers or give me death.
No, forget Snickers. That's the worst thing. Anyway,
Hey,
give me
I can
baking soda or give me death. That's probably what it goes.
I can verify, I can guarantee, and um, I lived when in my early 20s. I was an assistant manager of a video arcade. Remember when we had those things? And I lived on Snickers bars and Mountain Dew, 2 out of 3 meals a day
Oh
for
my
6
God.
days a week. I lived on Snickers bars and Mountain Dew, and I can tell you exactly what they did to me, and it wasn't pretty. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
I know what Snickers blood looks like. I know what Mountain Dew blood looks like, and it's not a pretty sight. Looks like
Oh,
a war
wow.
zone on this at the cellular level has actually been taking place. So yeah, the blood suffers. If the blood suffers, eventually you suffer. Your organs suffer. So
Mhm.
so this is once you understand that a microscope is more powerful than a gun, and you start looking at this stuff in the unseen world. And people want to say, don't confuse me with the facts, or don't confuse me with this. And because most of the pictures you're seeing of the narrative, they're all cartoon characters. They don't
Yep.
even exist in nature. They only exist on a piece of paper. That's what's so astonishing about what these bad actors and Luciferians are getting away with. This stuff
Yeah.
only exists on a piece of paper. All of it. All the way back to the Spanish flu. Every little new, so to speak, particulate is being given a name. So you can believe in it if you want. And yes, I believe in Santa Claus. Because I
And
want
the Easter Bunny.
the
No.
Easter Bunny. I believe in what they represent.
The Tooth
What they
Fairy.
represent.
We can go on and on.
Okay, and that's okay. That's
The
okay.
the simple point that I was trying to make is, the people that say, "Oh God, I love my Dr. Pepper, or I love my Mountain Dew, or whatever." It's not that bad. I don't have a problem with an energy drink because I only have one a day. Whatever. I can, just like the guy who did the movie Super Size Me, okay, where he ate nothing but fast food. I can, beyond a shadow of a doubt, verify that sugar is toxic. It doesn't matter if it's one a week, one a day, or one a year. Sugar is toxic.
Mhm.
So,
What we
Good.
put in our mouth makes a big difference what we're eating and drinking, but people don't want to admit that, or they just want to make all kinds of rationales and excuses why they can't do this, that, or the other thing. But it's tough. It's
and the
Also,
challenging.
what we're putting into our minds. So we have.
artificial sweeteners, even worse. If
Mhm.
I had a choice between sugar or artificial sweetener, I would pick the sugar. But if I had a choice between sugar and natural honey, I would pick the honey.
Mhm.
Just saying.
Okay. Great.
Anyway, thank you so much once again, and thank you, audience, for listening. And by the way, I just remembered. I was going to ask you real quick. Do you actually have pictures of the blood with on Dr. Pepper or on Snickers or any of those things? Do you actually have pictures of that? Because sometime, I would like to show that. I would like people to see
Well,
that.
if you go to Google and put Dr. Robert Young's blood pictures or something like that on images,
Uh-huh.
you'll probably see something come out. Here's your blood on grass, and here's your blood on beef or chicken or eggs. So I've written many articles about this, but I think if you just look at this not the last article, but the several articles that I've written, particularly on the
Yeah, I
scanning
don't know
and
how you write so much. It's amazing.
the scanning and transmission electron microscopy, and the energy dispersive spectroscopy, and the optical bright field phase contrast and dark field microscopy. You're going to see a lot of pictures there. But I also like to write about eggs and being one of the most poisonous, toxic foods that you can ingest. And so you'll see, here's your blood. This is what your blood looks like on eggs. But yes, I've been doing that for years.
Yeah, I know. Ever since you said that, I got kind of semi-repulsed by eggs.
Well, if you're into ingesting a chicken's period, then go right ahead. But there's the particulates that come out of an egg is around 37,500,000 that literally pollute the blood, and it takes you about it takes the neutrophils to go around and pick up all these genetic factors of a chicken. It takes about 3 days to clean it up. So never go get a PCR or an antigen test after you've eaten an egg, because it will pick up these poisons and these toxins. It will activate the neutrophils. It will activate the lymphatic system or the lymphocytes, and that's problematic. So yeah, you should go in always fasting before you test. If you decide, of course, I have other reasons why not to do that. I'm not going to get into them. That's a whole other discussion.
Right.
I've written about it, but here again, if you're going to do, an antigen test, or an antibody test, if you're going to do a PCR test, whatever the test is, you should always fast before you go in, and definitely don't eat eggs for at least 3 days prior to testing. Any beef, chicken, pork, and fish would be ideal to eliminate. No alcohol, but you want to provide an environment that's conducive, that represents good health and cleanliness. And because these tests will pick up this material. Go in when your pH is at 8.4, But there's other problems with the testing other than, false negatives and false positives, and some of the nanotechnology that's being incorporated with these tests. There's some problems, with that. So I don't recommend any testing. But
definitely, or any jabbing either. But anyway, I don't want to speak for you though, of course, but I certainly wouldn't recommend any, and I wouldn't think you would either. But anyway, again, I'm just going to emphasize this one last time. Get some pH strips and start checking your urine and the alkalinity that you're running on, because you might be amazed, and you will learn a great deal. And that's important, and I think you'll be glad you did if you do it. So anyway, once again, thank you so much. I could talk to you all day, but anyway, thank you. And
thanks, Paul. Nice to see you. And Gail, appreciate you all very, very much. And you take care, okay?
Okay, take care. And we'll see you again sometime.
All right.
Thank you so much for all you do. Keep it up.
Thank you, Dr. Young. You rock.
Take care. All right. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, I'm just looking for my right thing here. Here we go.
There you go.
We'll stand. We'll stand. We will stand. Standing tall and standing strong.
There we go.
I haven't edited the stream yet.